Hello, and welcome to the Bamboo Lab podcast with your host, Peak Performance Coach, Brian Bosley. Are you stuck on the hamster wheel of life, spinning and spinning, but not really moving forward? Are you ready to jump off and soar? Are you finally ready to sculpt your life? If so, you've landed in the right place. This podcast is created and broadcast just for you. All of you strivers, thrivers, and survivors out there. If you'd like to learn more about Brian and the Bamboo Lab, feel free to reach out to explore your true peak level at www.bamboolab3.com.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Bamboo Lab podcast. I'm your host, Brian, and I want to refer everybody back to February 20th of 2023. I did an episode. It was episode number 73 with a dear friend of mine and a man I respect immensely named Art Delorenzo. Art has been in the financial, leadership, and emotional competency field for decades now. Very well respected. In fact, I share with several of my clients over the past couple of weeks that we have Art coming back on, and everybody was very jubilant and excited about hearing his wisdom. So I think this is episode 156 or 157. So this was like 80 episodes ago we talked, but we've kept in contact. So without further ado, my dear friend, Art, welcome to the Bamboo Lab podcast once again.
Well, thank you, Brian. And you know, I'm a great fan of yours, so everybody knows that, so I won't elaborate on it, but glad to be here with you.
It's an honor. Well, okay, so Art, I know when I reached out to you, I know you and I have talked on the phone a few times, but when I did reach out to you a couple of months ago about coming back on again for a second trip, I really wanted you to just take some time and kind of run this episode by sharing with myself and the audience members out there your greatest learnings, your pieces of wisdom, because you've had an incredibly illustrious career over these several decades, and there's so much wisdom in there that I want to capture. So without me having a structured line of questioning, I want it to be unlimited for you to share whatever you want. So I'm going to turn it over to you for now.
Oh, thanks, Brian. Well, I think if I think about what was a significant driver for me, was recognizing that I was going to go down a road that I didn't feel comfortable with, and it was to be a professor at a university in Maryland, and I signed the agreement, sent it to them, and once it was in the mail, I started questioning whether it was the right thing to do. And so I just spent some time by myself on a lake, and I decided I was going to rescind that offer. And I did. And I followed up with a phone call. They were disappointed. Rightfully so, but I gave them plenty of notice. And that decision is what was aimed me towards the financial services arena. And what I learned from that, and I've learned it, and it's been repeated time and time again with people that I've recruited and trained and developed, that what's critical is that all of us have to feel a sense of instinct in us when we do our work. And if we do our work with that instinct, our MO is going to be energy full. We'll work until 6 o'clock at night and not think anything of it. But to counter that, there will also be times where we'll be working until 6 o'clock, but it won't be with the tasks that we really enjoy, and it'll exhaust us. And so, same clock starts at 9, ends at 6, day in and day out. But what's critical is the joy that you receive when your instincts are telling you, I really love this work. I love this job. It's the best job I've ever had in my life. And that's the same That's the same thing over and over and over again. Every time I took a promotion, I took plenty of time. I did lots of research, and it was no questions asked. That when I turned down at American Express, I must have turned down half a dozen offerings, and then finally the one came that I felt matched my instincts, it matched what my MO was, and it was a good decision, and it has stayed that way. So, instincts, honor your instincts and believe in them, trust them.
So you made a statement when you have a change or a decision to make that you do a lot of research. And one of the things I have found, Art, is when I have a decision to make like that, I tell people, we make our decisions primarily from the right side of our brain, the emotional side. But we have to use the left brain to do the research, to come up with thoughts and ideas and recognize some patterns. What I find is I do the research, I do the thinking, I do the journaling, but then the decision is almost always made it's some obscure time of the day. I might be out running or, hiking or just laying in bed. It might be at 3 a.m. The idea comes to me or the right decision. Do you think that seems to be the instinctive part, as it comes to me instinctively in a time of the day or wherever it is where I'm doing something that I'm not even thinking about the decision? Do you think you have to do the research and the thinking, the logical, critical thinking before the decision can come from that instinctive level, or do you think can you forego the research and thinking of it and it just comes instinctively? Does that make sense? That wasn't a really well worded question. But.
Yeah, well, I think we're all different.
Okay.
I don't know if your audience knows very much about Kolbe technology in Arizona, Phoenix. You can Google them. There's all kinds of research that they've done, which attracted me, and so I think it's different for everybody. And in my model, my Kolbe model, it requires me to spend most of my time innovating. And when I have to do my research, I'm out of my MO and I grunt it out. And as soon as it's done, I am happy. I'm happy I did it, but I'm also happy that it gave me answers. And so I think it depends on your MO, and okay. I think the answer is inside you.
Okay. I know for me, I'm a very I'm a very spontaneous person. I'm not a good planner. Anybody who knows me will know that. Don't invite me to do something that's more than about 3 hours out, because I'm not going to plan on it. I kind of run very instinctively a lot, or situationally and very spontaneously. I'm working on that. So one of the things I have to do so I don't make a poor decision is I have to do the research. I have to jot down ideas, journal ideas, and really think them out, then forget about them. Kind of put them on the back burner for a little bit. And then they kind of, for me personally, they come to me almost always when I'm somewhere in the woods, whether it's hiking or running or whatever it is, the idea, because my body is tired, my mind is relaxed, and I'm thinking about something completely unrelated, and an idea pops up. And thankfully, I always carry a pad and paper, or a pen and paper with me wherever I am, so I can stop and jot it down. I'm like, okay, that's the answer that I want, and that's the answer. But some people can maybe just do it without the research, I guess. I mean. And I don't know if a lot of people know about the Kolbe model, to be honest with you. So, is that is that kind of a reflective model? Is that how? I don't know.
It's a model that measures our instincts, our inclinations. It's just inside of us. What you were talking about was cognitive skills. We all can have cognitive skills. In fact, before, when I was doing my research, I was working in my cognitive mind, not my instinct. My instinct was to innovate, but I'm fighting it, and I'm using my cognitive knowledge. Right? I went to undergraduate school. I got 2 master's degrees. All of those things piled into a pile of cognitive knowledge. And so when I have to solve a problem, I go there first, just because it makes me feel appropriate. And then I jump over the Kolbe stuff, and I go to the affective part, which is the right brain, left brain part that you were talking about, and I use that, and because all of the cognitive pieces came from our education, our training, and all of that we have. But simultaneously to that, what is happening is your brain is recording all the feelings that you had. And so it's wise to go back into that affective part of your brain and say, I'm about to make this decision. I want to make this decision. Have I ever had any life experiences that gave me feelings similar to the ones I'm feeling now? And they will emerge. The both of them will bring you up. And then it says, okay, you've got the cognitive, you've got the affective. Now you've got to do something. And the doing, for me, is instincts.
Okay.
And so, I want to correct myself. For me, it's the whole idea of innovating. Even at American Express, I did a kit that they would send out for a major presentation. I had, hundreds of people, and I had to present this to them. I could not take that package and do it the way they had it. I had to go back and do some research that was similar to this, gave me feedback, gave me comfort, and then I went ahead and did the presentation, but I edited it, I innovated it. So, okay. But that's me, and it may not be you. And I'll give you another example: is if it's someone who has a high degree of fact finder, not innovating, but they love the data piece. Mm-hmm. They couldn't make the decision like that. They had to have their own data. So anyway,
okay.
So I don't want to ramble.
No, before we go on to your next piece of wisdom, how is Kolbe spelled Kolb?
Kolbe.
Kol. Okay, so I just want to put that so the audience can Google that and do some research on that, and potentially find out what their style is, so to speak. Good. So right away, number one is trust your instinct a little bit. Use your instinct for your betterment. That kind of gut feeling we get. That's kind of the synopsis of what you had talked about.
That is correct, and I'm gonna just grab something right here. This flows perfectly into the second thing I was going to talk about.
Perfect.
And that there's some science out there called precognition. Now remember, I spoke about cognitive skills. So this research is about, well, what's Art feeling before he goes into that, and so what does the brain do? We talked about it. It sends you messages. Well, precognition is a feeling in your stomach, and the brain is so smart. It knows it has all these neural things floating around, and I'm trying to stay away from science words, but they're wires all over the brain. And when it came time to making an important decision, the brain, and I'm making this up, says to itself, we can't give Art an answer in this muddle of thousands and thousands of neurons. And so we got to send it someplace where he'll notice it. And they'll send it, and what do? They send it to your stomach. That's why people say they have gut feelings. And so I just wanted to grab that. Who put this out? It's Popular Mechanics. You can. The author is Ashley Tysick. Dyaciac.
What year was
And
that?
it's recent.
What year was?
This year.
Oh, okay.
3 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago.
I'm going to try to find that article.
Yeah. So that all of what we talked about is all kind of twines together.
There's been a lot of research on that the stomach is a second brain, and I find that fascinating. That it acts like it has its own, and even the heart. They say now there's a lot of research that shows that has its own type of brain. It's almost a third brain for us. But do you think so if we trust in literally our stomach? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens in there that affects our brain and vice versa. Do you think that? And I've read some minimally on this, though, that if we want to be able to trust our instincts more, our gut, our stomach, so to speak, that it's good to to eat certain foods and drink certain things that takes care of the biomechanics of the stomach or whatever it might be. Do you think it's physiological?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the research that you're talking about. So the honorable thing is to say I don't know.
I think I'm pretty sure now that I remember it was on an episode of Andrew Huberman on the Huberman Lab talking about the gut biome, I think it's called, and how that affects. So it's like eating things like sauerkraut or kombucha or, things like that can really help our stomach better.
Wonderful.
And it can also therefore affect our decision making better. So, I was actually running when I listened to this episode. It was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I didn't sit down and take notes on it, but it was just like, oh, well, that's interesting because I do like to eat as much as I can. I like to take care of the stomach because otherwise my stomach's a mess half the time. So I like to make sure I eat sauerkraut. I drink as much kombucha. I haven't lately, but I typically drink a kombucha a day and eat a spoonful of sauerkraut every day. Well, good. So a lot of this is coming down to trusting yourself, trusting your gut instinct.
Yes, it is. And another thing that I did was when I was offered these positions, I went and found ways to talk to people who reported to the position that I would be reporting to. I wanted to know ahead of time what kind of a leader was was my boss going to be, and so that was a big help to me. I wanted to know what I could expect from a growth and development position. I had one case where I was assigned to a person part-time, and it was not a good connection. There's a lot of braggadocio, total absence of humility, total absence of controlling one's emotions, and I said no to that one. I couldn't say no fast enough.
Can you think of a time where you didn't trust your instincts or guts and you regretted it later?
Personally, yes.
I could think of so many times when I didn't. I mean, and I know there are a lot of audience members out there thinking about the same. They're asking themselves the same question right now. What have I done where I went too logical, didn't trust the gut, did what I thought I wanted to do rather than what my stomach or my gut or my heart were telling me to do, and it backfired on me. And I've done that with relationships. I've done that with business decisions. I've done that just with poor choices I made in friend groups and, even on my own. And I look back and, you kind of know sometimes the right choice to make, but it's so easy, especially if you're a good leader or a good salesperson. It's good we're good at convincing ourselves otherwise. If I want to do something and my gut's telling me not to do it, or vice versa, I kind of always know that I'm doing the wrong thing. And it's like I when I wake up in the morning going, oh, I shouldn't have done that, and I knew I shouldn't have done it, and I'm like, and it's just an example of just start trusting my instincts better. And sometimes I trust them too much. I mean,
Well, again, we're all so different, and while you were talking, I was thinking, and I could not think of a business experience that I had that I felt was wrong. I had a part-time job when I was in grad school, and I did some work, but it wasn't a career. It was just something that I had to do to have some extra income. So I can't. Well, all of my financial services career from start to end, over 50 years, a little over 50 years, and I was a happy man.
Well, I think of like, as you were talking earlier, talking about instinct, I think about when I started the coaching practice. It'll be 29 years ago next month, and when I left American Express, and it was completely on instinct. I had no rational, logical reason to stop my job at a very good company and start doing something at a young age that I've never done before. And right, and quite frankly, I was arrogance, insecurity, lack of experience, lack of wisdom that caused me to do it. But it was strictly instinct and gut. I felt it was the right thing to do without actually doing a lot of critical thinking before I made that jump. And the first year, obviously, was very challenging, and I questioned that decision as I was, had no money and didn't have a car and things like that. But obviously, in the long run, it worked out. But I wonder if you can go too much on instinct without enough critical thinking or cognitive backing, I guess. But it worked out. So I'm going to say I trusted my gut, and it was the right decision to make.
I think you're spot on. The third thing that I would say that was really helpful to me was because of my inclination for research. I liked learning, and so my encouragement to all of your listeners is do something every week, even if it's a 6-minute article or a chapter of a book. Commit yourself to learning and pile it on. Build that cognitive part of your brain. Just stack it up as much as you possibly can. You're going to need the pieces. Look, it's going to be 85 in a couple of weeks, and I'm reading Popular Mechanics and precognition, and so it's something I've just practiced myself, and it has been so helpful to the people that I've been responsible for. And they were grateful for it, and then they started emulating it and giving me articles that they saw, and we swapped them. And so I think learning, don't ever stop learning. When they bring the coffin down the aisle, have somebody slide a quick article in there I can read before they bury me.
Well, now you're definitely traveling down my path here. One of the things I stress with my clients a lot is, I want you to read. I want, and I recommend a lot of books. And it was really nice today because I was a young man that I coach. He's 38 years old, and last Wednesday I said you need to read the book "The Obstacle Is the Way" by Ryan Holiday, one of my favorite books, and I recommended it, and I kind of forgot about it. So today we had a short coaching session. He said, I want you to let you know I'm about halfway through the book. I feel so motivated and so much more empowered by this philosophy of Stoicism. I love when that happens. But here's what I hear a lot. I don't have time to read. I don't have time. And I'm like, literally, like you said, it can be 5 minutes a day. Or it can be 10 minutes a week. An article takes about 10 minutes to read, 5 to 10 minutes. Like one article, start with one article, one chapter of a book. Pull on a TEDx talk. Research something that you're interested in, watch a YouTube video on it, and just keep that brain stimulated. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think you and I are probably fairly blessed that we like to read. We like to do the research, and maybe we started at a young age where it becomes so habitual in our lives. But for some people, they've never really done that. And I'm like, you don't have to do much of it. Find a topic you're interested in. Learn something.
Yeah, I know. Yep, I think you're spot on again. And no wonder we like each other so much. So it works. Next thing I had was don't be afraid to ask for help. Be assertive. Model that to your family, your workers, people you work with, and if you're struggling with something, don't be afraid. Don't just ignore it. Go find somebody to teach you, and then for all practical purposes, you can relearn by then taking that same article or that same concept and share it with somebody else. Now you're getting a relearn. You learned it the first time from the person that you asked for help, and then you now spread that to somebody else, and you're relearning it again. It helps with the retention of the knowledge. Retention is one of your best resources that you have. Right. And so be committed to practicing over and over again.
Now, when you were younger, Art, did you find it more difficult to ask for help than you do now, or has it always been a pretty easy process for you? Because I was challenged with that one for a while.
Yeah, I never was challenged by it. I didn't mind not knowing something. I would have preferred to know something, and when I didn't, I was committed to finding out what it is that I had to learn. And so I'd say, that it's a learned behavior.
Yeah.
So
I mean, obviously, I've reached out to you many times to ask for help or thoughts on something. I want to tell you the biggest blunder I've had in my career on this topic was when I started the coaching firm in November of 1996. I told myself out loud, you are not going to read any books on consulting or coaching. You're not going to talk to another coach or consultant and ask for their help. You're going to do it your way without any outside influence. And now I look back again, that's a young man at 29 years old, insecure, arrogant, all these, fears that I had. And I was trying to be this rock of a man, this island all by myself. And I look back and I honestly can say that was probably the biggest blunder I've made in my 29 years of coaching, is not reaching out for help or reading books or articles on the topic of the field I was in now, because I didn't want to be spoiled by other people's opinions. And that's something that stuck with me. And so now I'm adamantly good at asking for help from, or advice or thoughts, or, hey, just can we brainstorm on something for a little bit? And it has made such a massive, massive positive influence on my professional and personal life.
Well, it's nice to hear that. I hope everybody that's listening is listening to Brian talk about how they can enhance themselves. When you're behaving in a way, I'll kind of channel it towards athletics at first, but it could be anything. When somebody acts poorly in an athletic event, everybody sees it. Mm-hmm. So if they would accept defeat with a sense of humility, they would see that too.
Yeah.
And so we have to ask ourselves, what do we want our colleagues to see when I'm behaving? And what don't we want them to see? Mm. And so, especially when it comes to our families, if we behave poorly in front of our family, there's consequences to it. But if we want to I want them to think positively, then you exercise humility. In Wimbledon, when you go to center court, there's a quote from Rudyard Kipling, and it says, both victory and defeat are imposters. They are not what you're going to be in life. What you're going to be in life is how you behave with each other. The man on the street, the coffee vendor, the best client that you have. How you behave with them is what sets us apart. And so, my encouragement would be to learn from that when you're behaving, especially on a team, and that team can be at home or at work, when you're behaving in those situations, it's possible that you won't be successful. How you respond to that failure is critical.
Yeah.
And conversely, if you behave with humility and kindness, when you win, people see it.
Well,
and they want to be like you.
I think
so you have to. Go ahead.
You said something to me a couple of years ago that kindness is the best sleep medicine or something like that. I think it was when we were doing our Blast podcast. I think that was the title of the podcast we did a couple of years ago. And that made a lot of sense. I think the words you said were this, and I'm going to paraphrase to some degree. When you do something nice for somebody and you look them in the eye and you see, like, if you're saying even, hey, I like, thank you for the good service you've given me. You're an incredible server, or whatever it is to someone. And when you go to bed and you remember that face, that when you said something kind to them, it'll put you right to sleep. It's the best sleep medicine or something like that. And that stuck with me. And I've shared that with a lot of people, is when you practice an act of kindness to someone, that can be a really good antidote to sleeplessness or insomnia.
Yeah, you've got a good memory.
It's true.
It's called random acts of kindness, where you just go out of your way. And so that works well, because then you can, before you put your head on the pillow, or as you put your head on the pillow, you can reflect back. The brain will take you right back to every one of those experiences. So if you had 3 today and 4 yesterday, either one, they're going to just ask the brain, can I have the picture back of my saying something to somebody? And the person's face will come right back to you.
It works. I know that for a fact, because I've done it many times in the last 2.5 years since we talked. It does work. And before, when you told me that, I was on this journey of practicing 7 random acts of kindness a week. And I still am. And I literally track it, because I'm a big fan of, you respect what you inspect. So if I don't track it, I won't do it. And before then, I was just doing it. Letting somebody cut in front of me in the line, holding a door, they're all small things for the most part. But then I started being more verbal when you mentioned this in the past, about saying something kind of a person and looking them in the eye, or looking, at their face when I say it. And, I've been able to put that to practice, not every night. I fall asleep pretty easily now because I get up early, but, there are times in the middle of the night when I wake up and I'll have to go back to that. Okay, what did I do or say to someone today? And did I look in their face? And if I did, I use that visual, and it just puts me in a relaxed position, I guess, more serene, more peaceful position, I should say. But
well, the last comment I'll make for the day is learning how to have a life where there's balance between your personal life and your work life. And it's not going to surprise anybody to know that when you retire, nobody at the home office is going to send you a check to cover all the times that you took time away from your family and devoted it to work. The secret to this is all the other things we spoke about. building those cognitive skills, learning, relearning. Those are the things that allow you to be effective at work and at home. You can. One of our executives lives near the ocean, and a client, and when we started talking about this, she just threw up her hands. She said, "It's impossible. I have so much to do. I can't, and I can't take any more time." So we met afterwards, and I asked her to just try it for a week, and so she agreed to try it. She's still doing it to this day. Good. She doesn't go home when she goes home. Mm. She doesn't go home. She doesn't. Where does she go? She goes to the ocean, and she sits in her favorite spot, rain notwithstanding, of course, sure. And she just does nothing for 30 minutes.
Wow.
And then she goes home. That unleashes all of the love again to the kids, to the husband, to the wife, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
when she is actually physically home, she is actually home. She's engaged. She's present with her family.
Yep. Yeah, because when she was home, she wasn't home.
Yeah. I know a lot of my clients have faced that, and I've mentioned stopping at a park for 10 minutes on the way home or meditating in the driveway before you walk in. And the ones who've done it have had great success with it. But it is hard to convince a person to take that extra 10, 20, 30 minutes on their way home because what do we always say? I don't have the time. I'm too busy for just about everything that's good for us. We don't have the time to do it.
Yeah, that goes back to Rudyard Kipling, right?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Both.
It's a facade. It's a make believe. It's not true. So all those things that we say to ourselves that are like that are not true. So
I love this. I love this thing I've read lately a lot. I've heard it a lot when as I'm listening to podcasts and reading books, that we are not our thoughts. And I love that statement because a lot of times my thoughts will get jumbled up. As much as I work on positivity, my thoughts will go negative. I'll worry. I'll feel guilt or shame for something. And I have to remind myself, I am not my thoughts. My thoughts are separate. And then I can distance myself a little bit from them and look at them from an objective viewpoint. And then when I come back to what I'm doing or who I'm with, I feel like I've kind of dissipated that negativity and I'm more present and engaged again.
Yeah, and I think that's real.
Well, anything else you want to say before we wrap up, my dear friend? You've been amazing as I knew you would be.
No, I just want to be sure everybody gets the message about being on a team and not doing well. People don't like it. They even don't like it worse when they're responsible for it. That's the reason they're not doing well. And alternatively, the idea of being on a team, work or at home, and having success, people like it.
Yeah.
And then one more step away, things are going well, and they're the ones that are making it well.
Mm-hmm.
They like that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, but all of that is make believe. Just like Rudyard Kipling said, it's a facade. It's not life. What life is presenting yourself to people that are exciting, that you're taking responsibility for. You want them to excel, and you show it through humility and kindness. So
And that's true in your personal life with your children and grandchildren, and your friends. It's obviously true with your colleagues and your employees or your clients at work as well.
Exactly.
Well, hey, are you going to, before I wrap up, are you swimming today still? Are you swimming every day?
Almost. I am back from the summer place, and I am in between that and going back to the Y. I have some physical things I'm working on, and then I'll go back to my swimming.
And how long, when you're in Martha's Vineyard, how far are you swimming every day?
Initially it takes me a while to build up, like in every physical action. But usually a 40, 45 minute swim is ideal.
That's a great workout.
It is.
That's a really good workout. I can swim, but I'm not a really active swimmer. I can swim if I fall off a boat. I can get back on the boat and I can swim to shore, but I've never swam I've never swam for physical exercise. I don't think, maybe a few times in a pool, but negligently. But I respect anybody who uses that as a primary form of exercise because it's not an easy one.
No, and happiness is such an elusive thing. I'll give you one last tidbit from a lady down in Georgia. Her name is Dr. Judith Joseph. She talks about happiness is an external thing, just like you were talking about. But joy is internal. And so what she has done is she has trained me now to say during the day, similar to what we talked about before, only she ties it to joyfulness. She says, if you will deliberately say to your brain, this is a beautiful day. I'm really enjoying this day, or my meal, or my hugs, or my whatever. And over a day's time, if you can get 8 of those in, it's a bundle. But it takes 3 or 4 seconds. Is all it takes. And then what happens is that you are now training the brain again to look at all the stack ups of joyfulness you have, and that's what creates happiness. So,
I like that a lot. It's a beautiful day.
Yep. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. It's a lot like practicing gratitude, writing down your things that you're grateful for. You're just programming that brain to see the beauty in life, which what I read, and I know we have to wrap up here. I know your schedule's tight, but I read a study from the University of Berkeley, or University of Berkeley in California, I think, or California, Berkeley, I guess, that was done maybe 8 or 9 years ago that said because of our amygdala in our brain, for every one positive thing we notice in life, we traditionally notice 9 negative things. And we can reverse that because we know there are thousands of positives for every one negative, but we see it almost the inverse of that. And if we can practice things like what you said, saying it's a beautiful day 8 times a day, practicing writing down what you're grateful for, we reprogram the brain to see reality, which is far more positive than there are negatives. And that's been a big impetus to me the last 2.5, 3 years of practicing gratitude in my journal every day. And I've noticed it. It works. It works wonders. So.
It works because you're a good guy, too.
Oh, well, so. Opinions vary on that one, Bart, but I'll take your opinion on that. My friend, I can't express how much gratitude and honor it is to have you back on the show for the second time. Thank you again for the wisdom you shared today. This is 50 plus years of professional wisdom and almost 85 years of personal wisdom combined into 45 minutes here. So thank you so much for being such an amazing guest on the Bamboo Lab podcast.
You're very welcome, Brian. Anytime you call, I'll answer.
I appreciate it. I'll be in touch with you in the next couple of days, Art.
All right. Take care, pal.
Goodbye, friend. Everyone, that was Art Delorenzo, as you know. And I got to say this, Art's off the show. I have gotten to know Art really well over the past 15, 20 years. not only a massive professional success in life, but a man who has changed so many lives. It's amazing how many people I mention his name to across the country, and they know or they know who he is, or they've seen him speak, or they've been part of his programs in the past. And I really wanted to get him back on here, so I'm really glad you tuned in. I know there's some background noise, and I apologize for that. I did notice that I'm actually recording this in Marquette, Michigan today, and I noticed I had a little knock at my door at a couple of times during the show, but I don't think you picked up on that. But either way, anyway, again, thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode. I'll be back again in a week. We got some good guests, some amazing guests lined up over the next few weeks. So I appreciate your time. Until next time, just remember to please go out there and strive to give and be your best. Show love and respect to others and back on yourself. And please, by all means, live intentionally and with passion. Take care, everyone.